Hi all. I'll try to keep the cadence of like games and try to be more exciting. So we'll try to do some more demos. Can you please prepare your phones? So we'll try to do some like interactive conversation as well. So what I'd like to discuss on this conversation is a new service I would like to build. Let's call it text support. What text support does, it's actually a chat application that helps people to ask questions related to Texas. Okay? What we're gonna do, we will discuss several problems that actually have, like Ruby on Rails developers have when deploying applications specific for LLM into production. One is, how do we actually know that the answers are good for us or like for our customers, right? How do we know what's happening in production? Do we actually know what's going on inside? And how can we improve? My name is David. I'm David Paluy at many social, GitHub, etc. Doing Rails since version 1.8. I live here in Austin, Texas, last 6 years. I did AI before it was called AI, it was still machine learning. Not that much on Ruby, but mostly Python stuff. I hope I will not mention AI anymore on this conversation. So just flag me if I mention this word again. Until recently, I was a CTO in Austin-based startup Supply. We have several folks from here as well. We do payments for construction distributors. And today I'm doing a lot games and other stuff with agents. So the first trial, I hope it will work. Can you actually scan the code and vote? The main question is, what's your go-to LLM provider? I see some numbers. So first of all, thanks to Anycable, that they did an amazing job and it works in production. This is my first time trying this option. But I say that Claude actually is significantly winning. I have a question to you. Are you talking about Claude as just for development or even in like regular applications? In the app as well, okay, cool. So we see definitely that Anthropic is winning. Okay, let's move forward. So going back to the text support. We have a concierge, okay? It's based on Ruby and Ruby on Rails and Ruby LLM. How many of you actually use Ruby LLM? So Carmen does an amazing job. I can tell you that I'm amazed by how frequently he improves stuff and release stuff. If someone not familiar with it, highly recommend it. So this application will be able to answer some questions about Texas, like culture, barbecue, etiquette, and so on. I'll give you some examples. Like my guest ordered a well-done ribeye steak with ketchup. What should I do? Like, or how do I make the best brisket at home? What's a proper response? Bless your heart. We need to make some assumptions, right? When we are talking about LLM. And LLM is not deterministic. So we have different models. Each model behaves completely separate. We can't really know what's going on. So let's assume that we have several options right now. One, it's an open source model. The other one is proprietary. And we also can build our own fine-tuned version as well, correct? By the way, Ruby LLM can support all of those options. So the first case, it works, but it can't really go to production. Like someone just said, hey, yeah, the answer is pretty good, like we can do. Our QA said, like, looks fine to me, like the answer is okay. But the guy said, like, ketchup answer was really helpful, like, and just doesn't make sense. It's not Texas-style response, right? We are talking about LLMs, and as I mentioned previously, those are non-deterministic responses. We can't really predict what's going on, but we would like to deploy production-grade application and make sure that we can actually verify those answers properly. Another question, how do you evaluate LLM output? Can you vote, please? Amazing. That's actually what I expected. So most people, as you can see, actually do this manually, right? Like we do some trials, we do some checks, we hope it works, and that's about it. So we're gonna see what we can actually do that is more sustainable. I'll give you some kind of overview of what we have right now in Ruby, and maybe I missed something. So the oldest solution was built by Kieran from Avery, I think since 2024. It's battle tested. It's very tight into Rails. The project called Leva. So it's actually Rails engine with tight production integration. It has its own pros and cons. You definitely should try this tool. There was another tool that was released probably 2 weeks ago, I think, Eval Ruby. I personally didn't try it yet because I built my own, and I'll talk about this shortly. But this was another tool that I just did basic analysis of what it has. And what I'd like to show you is actually Rubric LLM. So the Rubric LLM is an open source gem that I built to actually evaluate responses efficiently. It's not a Rails engine, it's pure Ruby, so you can do it with any application you have. It has a lot of mass, so it's not really depends on LLMs in general, but we will discuss about this. So by the way, Rubric LLM is actually inspired by some Python project that you can take a look on it. So it's not my invention, it's just kind of borrowing the ideas, okay? So we define, the main idea behind it, we define judge model. And judge model can be just more advanced LLM. And this judge model can evaluate different questions and answers. And then we can give it a dedicated evaluator. What's the best way to cook brisket? And there should be some support responses and some context and ground truth as well, okay? So the gem itself, in addition to just using the LLM that judges, it has different built-in metrics. And those metrics you can actually check based on what it's displayed here. I'd like to mention one important thing. If you just ask any LLM, evaluate my answer, it can work, it can't. You can't really trust it. So you need some sort of guards, right? From my experience, it's usually just took expected, especially Anthropic, by the way. They excel in this. Yeah, you're always right. That was amazing. Yeah, it was my mistake, and so on. Sometimes it's just good enough response, right? So this good enough response is something that people can okay, we can't really deploy something that is good enough. And from my experience, if you just give it, try to evaluate, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you can't really trust it. What Rubric LLM does, it's actually create those type of guards for the judge to define what's good means, okay? And it's not only the LLM itself, it's also you. When you actually use this gem, you define those metrics. And this is an example of the metrics. So on the left side, we have some LLM as judge metrics. On the right side, we have retrieval metrics. So retrieval metrics are pure math. So nothing AI-based, nothing LLM-based. It's just statistics. On the left side, those are different topics that you can actually use to evaluate and define what's good and what's not good. As you can see, the response is usually between like 0 and 1, and you can like just measure those values. Let's look on some random example. We have some questions, and what we're gonna receive, we're gonna see different metrics by different models that we're gonna use. And of course, our fine-tuned model will be the best because we did an amazing job to make it specific for our tech support needs. And at the end, we got the result. And this result helps us to move forward. So as I mentioned, it's not LLM-based, it's not predictable, it's just pure math statistics. What you can do, you can, for each model, you can actually create a report, and then you can just compare those two. Let's look on some specific example. A pitmaster console. So you can define a system prompt that just takes a system prompt request and ask it to evaluate our questions. And then we can provide it a recipe. And this recipe can be good or bad for Texas style, but we have clear way how to actually decide about this. So we can customize different types of metrics, like specific for our needs. Like if it's sauce is good, or wood is fine, or rub was a Texas style, and so on. The brisket is just a trial, so we can we can provide some answers and just make a decision if it's banished from Texas or just use the good Texas approval. This is actually a real API that you can use in your production. It's not specific for brisket. You can decide whatever you would like to use it in your specific case, okay? Just pick your own specific category and apply your set of judge rules. It can work also in CI. We have, I added support for both Minitest and RSpec. I would like to kind of warn you, pay attention that it costs money. You have to like pay attention to the API token you provide. I walked up one day and I see like a bill for like $50 for like last night run. So just pay attention to this. But once again, if your application is critical, just be aware of that. What eval actually help us? It just provides us confidence. By the way, who remembers there was a talk, I think probably like 10 years ago on, it was TDD and BDD. So I forgot the name of the guy, but he actually showed this image and I really like it since that it's my kind of go-to confidence slide. But cat walks in front of dogs is actually something that always symbolize confidence. So what can we actually do with this tool, we can evaluate answers, we can find custom metrics that specific for us. We can run it in CI as well. We can do some A/B testing. We still don't know one major thing. We did some tests in development, did some CI. We have no idea what's going on in production. So how can we resolve this? Suddenly, I waked up and got some incorrect responses, or nobody actually knows what's going on, right? So silent regression is one issue. Cost explosion, as I mentioned, it's one big issue as well. The ketchup accident is real. I can bring it to real specific examples that I had previously. I deployed something to production. I have no idea what actually happened, what LLM responded to. What options do we have? We can just bump our logger and try to search all logs all the time. We can do some other solutions that I'll mention shortly, but we need something more structured that we can see details in precisely, just check the cost of those interactions with LLM. Previously was mentioned regarding PII. So if someone just mentioned very privacy-specific conversation, first of all, we should somehow block it, right? So the solution that I built called TraceBook. So TraceBook, it's a gem that I built roughly a half a year ago, but there was one major issue that Ruby LLM was going way faster than I did, and we had some gap, but I actually released a version, as I promised to Nathan, that I'm gonna release this version for this conference. So right now, it actually supports the latest Ruby LLM version. It allows us to look into production and see what's going on with the data. Or what we can do, we can create some PII reduction. It's still regex-based. I would like to deploy another version that is more advanced, but it's a future step. It tracks our cost. We can review flow. We can do some approve, flag some responses, and so on. And we can also export the data. This is an example on the PII side. So some data, like private information, we would like to just skip. So this can be done also in this tool. Another solution that I saw was released probably a month ago, and Thoughtbot published it, I think, last week, was Open Telemetry. This tool is available. It uses Open Telemetry protocol with Ruby LLM as well. It does a bit different from what I built, but they are not competing. They are just fitting a different topic. It captures all chats and can send those to different services like Datadog and so on. This is kind of the summary of those two tools that I mentioned. I highly recommend you to check all of those. I'll show you the one that I built later. So let's discuss the full architecture. User asks a question. Ruby LLM does all the magic with chat. After that, we send a notification. It's fired. We have two options. TraceBook does some reduction, calculation of cost, and some other stuff. And the Thoughtbot tool just sends this data to third-party services for big corporate analysis. And of course, we can also use the rubric LLM for our CI and just fine tune, like make a decision if this LLM is good for us or not. The last question that I mentioned was how we can actually improve ourselves. And we can flag bad interactions, we can export those, and we can do some like extra fine tuning. For example, tech support just answered someone that ketchup on steak is fine, but it's unacceptable in Texas, right? So we can flag those in a dashboard, we can export this data, we can do some fine tuning, and we can release a new version, we can evaluate those steps. So those tools actually help us to release a version that is constantly kind of improving. Okay. As I mentioned, we can also test with different prompts as well. Let's look once again on the question. We have two versions. One is GPT, the other one is our fine-tuned version. The GPT is kind of very standard on generic data that is not fine-tuned for our data set. So the result can be kind of generic, mediocre, but nobody can actually provide us specific judge like Texas spirit, right? So you need either to build it or to somehow fine-tune it, correct? So those tools actually can provide you very specific metric that can fit your needs. Let's do some, I'll show you a quick demo of what does, can you see my screen? Yeah. So right now you see here, I did several tests early this morning. The price that you see, I used some of Chinese models via Open Router, so they are kind of almost cheap, but I also created a more expensive model, just used Opus with several examples. So this is an example that we don't have kind of PII in place, so it doesn't show it, so we have a clear address here in this one. But this is when I turn on the PII filter. So like every time it identifies some specific PII stuff, it just filters those out. We can mark this approved, flagged, and so on, provide some comments on this particular specifically when we work as a team. And as I mentioned, we can also export the JSON version and just give it for LLM for fine-tune further. I'll skip the chat. I think you know how chat works. So what can you do next week? You can add TraceBook. First of all, try Ruby LLM if you still didn't try it yet. Try to play with those tools. I think I definitely would like to get some feedback if it works for you, for your needs. If you have any suggestions of what can be improved, just open the GitHub issue. I'm happy to get feedback from, maybe you have a very specific case that I didn't thought about, because everything you see here, it's from my probably last half a year of playing with those type of tasks. This is all the gems that I think you should try it. I also highly recommend you to check the Kieran's gem as well, Leva, because I think it just does a different type of work, but it's actually pretty good as well. I have a list of all the resources that you can see. And if you have any questions, Sorry?
Does it actually require Rails 8.1?
Actually, not. There is nothing there. I just migrated to Rails 8, and that's what I can actually downgrade. No, there is nothing like specific. Can you open just a GitHub issue? I'll tell you. I don't think there is nothing because I actually simplified it a lot because many of those features that I added previously was added into Ruby LLM directly. So I actually had to reduce stuff from the tracebook and not to add stuff. But just let me know, okay? If it's required, okay. So the question was if tracebook actually requires Rails 8, okay? More questions? I think I added into the README of the gem, but but if I don't, I'll double check after that. I'll add some. So the question is if there are any examples of the judge configuration. So as I mentioned, I show one here, but I think I added in README. If not, I'll just add those after the talk. More questions? You were so passionate about brisket, so I had to share my own recipe. So take a picture of this. I can tell you that I live in Austin for like 6 years. I think this is probably one of the best recipes that I was able to kind of find. And some of the folks here can tell that it actually was pretty good. Yes? I actually have very cheap smoker, like just a Weber, but it does an amazing job. Thank you.